This episode is proudly sponsored by Main Street Magazine. Hey, Mary. Nice to see you, and I'm super excited for today.
Thorin, this is going to be a very, very interesting episode because it's someone whose career I've followed since I belonged to her CSA
Mm-hmm.
20 years ago. Her name is Tracy Hayhurst, and she is local to the Northwest Corner, and she's a farmer, a chef, an educator, a connector on all things food, a lovely human being. And I'm super excited for us to explore her story and her Moxie. She's recreated herself multiple times from farmer to chef to educator and weaves together all of these threads so seamlessly and seemingly without effort, but I know she's a very hardworking person.
I would
So
imagine with that resume.
anyway, so I'm super excited to get to her story and hear what she has to say.
Let's dive in.
So Tracy, welcome to Main Street Moxie. We're so excited to have you today.
Thank you. I'm happy to talk with you guys.
Well, we always start out with our guests with what their definition of Moxie is and how they've seen that definition operating in their life. So we're wondering, what do you think of the word? When I say Moxie, you say...
I say a couple different things. I've been thinking about this, and one of the main things I think for me is being able to think outside the box, being authentic, and also being resilient. So
Okay.
that's my experience of how I interpret it. So I don't know if I know how to think inside the box. So it's just a default mode of operation for me, because what I do is seemingly common sense, straightforward, but there's not a lot of evidence out there or applications out there where you can see a career path like mine, where
Okay.
you're trying to interweave the growing seeds, growing organically, gardening, farming, bringing into the kitchen, cooking wonderful dishes, and then sharing that not just through a meal, but through teaching people how to do it, right?
Mhm.
You can do all those things kind of separately,
Right, right.
and you can be a farmer, you can be a chef, you can teach in a culinary setting like a school or something like that, but to do them all simultaneously, it's a little bit tricky, but at the same time it's all kind of one thing for me.
Mm-hmm.
That's it's just more of a lifestyle than a linear career path.
How
Yeah.
did you get into that, though?
Well, I've always, from pretty early on in like my teens, been drawn to food, drawn to culture around food
Mm-hmm.
and the natural world. So one of the first jobs I had out of college was cooking in the huts at the Appalachian Mountain Backcountry Hut, Appalachian Mountain Club Backcountry Huts, where you hike up all the food to the huts. They're off grid, and then you feed all the hikers that come through and stay with you.
Oh my God.
So you have to bring up the food, you have to cook it, you have to serve it. And it was really like amazing to be a young person out in the woods, spending all day, around the stove. It was wonderful. So that kind of like lit the spark, and I eventually decided that I wanted to go to culinary school. But at the time, in like the late 90s, it was a different world than now. This is like before USDA organic. This is before Whole Foods. This is like
Right,
to really understand quality of ingredients.
right.
I felt like I needed some direct experience with what does that mean. Like I didn't know how to pick out a ripe tomato or know when things were in season. I hadn't grown up gardening or
Mm-hmm.
farming or that wasn't a part of my life. So I decided I would, while I was trying to figure out where to go to culinary school, I would apprentice on an organic farm. And that was amazing. That was kind of really where things started to coalesce for me and start my like adult path in this life. So because not only did I apprentice on a farm, I ended up marrying my coworker and we started a vegetable farm. So while we were doing that, then I also decided to go to a Ballymaloe cookery school in Ireland because they're the only farm, and I think, I mean, only cooking school, and I think even to this day, that's actually situated on an organic farm.
Really?
Yeah, it's a remarkable place. I love telling people to go there if they have a chance because it's not only for professionals, it's they have a lot of short courses too, day courses
Okay.
and and then like maybe weekend courses or week, there's kind of like a course for everybody that really emphasizes the best quality ingredients are coming from, like right outside your door if as close to you as possible. The
Hmm.
freshest ingredients. They're by the sea, they have amazing fresh fish. Obviously, they have beautiful dairy there, and they
Hmm.
have their own gardens, they have their own vegetables. Now, I mean, I went there in 2001. Now they also have um, their own dairy herd. They have pigs. They've had chickens. So it's very comprehensive, and it's just interwoven into the life of the culinary school. Like students have to take out the compost, and they have to feed the chickens, and they have a rotation of who's going to harvest from the glass houses, and so. I was in heaven when I was there. I was like, I was meant to be here, like it really, it really spoke to me. But then when I came back, I, we really ended up for like the next 12 years or 14 years or something like that, starting this CSA, organic
Hmm.
vegetable farm. And so I kind of put cooking on the back burner. Yeah, I mean, I can keep going, but
Yeah, so it seems like these multi-layered
yeah.
experiences and then Ballymaloe, it's is that in the back of your mind with what you're doing now with Undermountain Pantry, creating those multi-layered experiences for people?
Well, yeah, absolutely. Not in terms of the scale of what they do, because they're full on
Right.
culinary school. They have like many programs throughout the year. They're teaching, hundreds of students throughout the year. But right, but to bring it down to like each class or event or workshop that I um put out there, even if it's something that seems kind of a little bit arbitrary, like pie making. Like, yes, you're going to use local apples. It's going to be seasonal fruit. It's going to be tied back to where we live, what's available to us locally, and then the technique that you can actually cook food for yourself. So I do like to have, uh, meet all those touch points in like whatever class that it is that we're doing.
Well, I was telling Thorin I had the good fortune to attend your blueberry themed
Yeah.
class over the summer, I think
Yeah.
it was already, with my 22-year-old son.
Mm.
And you had a farmer there, Adam Buggy. So just to fill people in, the whole menu was blueberry themed.
Mhm.
You walk into this little farmhouse that has this beautiful table set out on the front porch. And when you walk through the door, it's farmhouse meets high-powered culinary kitchen.
Yeah.
And we watched how to spatchcock a chicken and make a blueberry barbecue sauce.
Right.
Oh.
And then we sat down with farmer Adam Buggy and talked about soil. And when we left with some other participants, a father and son,
Right.
which was lovely. And when we left, Caleb said, "That was incredible. I didn't even have the urge to look at my phone the entire night."
That was the best compliment I've ever had, honestly.
So I I've known you, even though you didn't really know me. I was a member of that Chubby Bunny
Right.
CSA
Yeah.
back in the day when you were having your babies
Mhm.
attached to you while you're pulling strawberries. And then we worked together at Plantin Seeds.
Right.
And then I was a member of Husky Meadows, where you were the farmer there. And now this venture. And I was telling Thorin the through line that it takes Moxie to do what you're doing and to
Well, thank
keep
you. Yeah.
recreating yourself. And I wonder if you could talk about some of the evolutions and
Mm.
lessons that you've learned from being this entrepreneur connected to the land.
Right. Well, it does. That's where I was speaking about like resilience, right?
Hmm.
Um, because when you do something that is a little unconventional, you can't really, just my experience is that you don't have the expectations that everything is going to go in a straight line.
Isn't that just farming though?
Yes, of course, starting with farming. Oh gosh, yeah, you have to be resilient to be a farmer for sure. But
Yeah.
I think the important thing also, tied back to Moxie is really knowing yourself and what is important to you and what you value, and to always use that as the guideposts of what you're going to do next. When
Hmm.
you're, we closed our farm. It was honestly a lot of heartbreak, like,
Yeah.
and how do you um not see it as an ending, right?
Right, right.
See it as, okay, it's a huge opportunity at the same time. It's very, you go through this like very confusing moment, and but if you're true to like what your gift is, and the amazing thing is that with the farm, the same thing happened with Husky Meadows, right? Like when the decision was made that Seed and Spoon was not going to continue there, um, the culinary farm stays that I had started there, when that was no longer going to happen there, I had to again reinvent myself. And so you have to say, what has been true to me in these experiences, and
Hmm.
how can I go forward, even though, because I have this seemingly not bipolar, it's two parts of a half, right? Like the cooking and the gardening. One of the great things is that I've had the opportunities to go back and forth and switch depending
Right.
on, so I get to, have this kind of playful, like it's all good, like whether I find myself in the kitchen or I find myself in the garden or in, now teaching, it's it's like so much wonderful opportunity to share those gifts with people. And you have the positive experiences from the work that you had been doing. Like
Hmm.
like Mary, like all I see people who are Chubby Bunny members, who had been Chubby Bunny members, like so often, and they tell me these fond memories and these great stories. I mean, I know that work had impacted people. And the same at Husky Meadows, same with Seed and Spoon, and Plantin Seeds for sure. Like I've been so lucky to be a part of these places that have really touched people. And so when you take that as like, it's very rooting and grounding to fall back on that, those experiences, and know that you have a way to bring them forward. Like you don't know what the way is, but they give you like this strength that people or really respond to your work and will continue to respond to what you're going to put out there. I mean, I've just been like incredibly lucky. But it's also, feeding people, it's so it's so a part of our community, like our, eating food with loved ones
Yeah.
in your neighborhood, in your community. Like there's a reason why it resonates with people, right?
At this moment in our society, we should be eating all the time
Yeah.
together.
Yes.
Because that might be the only thing that can pull us together is
Right.
breaking bread.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
So what's been your driving force behind all this? Because, Mary and I don't like to use the word failure, but there are ups
Mm,
and downs and challenges. So what
sure.
is the driving force that just, keeps, having you go forward and reinventing yourself, as Mary said, or just having the mindset to come up with like, hey, here's an opportunity, or here's this
Right.
exciting thing. What for you is that?
Well, I think firstly, it's personal. Like I want to grow my own food. I
Hmm.
want to eat delicious food and I want to share it with my loved ones.
Right.
And so it's just the next step is, well, what's the best way for me now to, it's hard when your life is also your work. Like
Right.
it's
Right.
like eating, growing food, eating food, cooking food with people. It's life. And how do I share that with people in a way that's also can be a business at the same time? And I think that, like I said, people are really, they're curious. They're really interested in having the experience like that Mary had, where you get to, obviously people love delicious food, right? And they want to
Yeah.
come together. And then they want to learn how to do that for themselves.
Right.
Whether, and then the next layer is they also want to learn maybe a little bit more about the story of what their food is. Like, who are the farmers in their community who not only where can I get it, who are they, but what's their life like? Like,
Hmm.
can I tap into their knowledge to understand more? But then there's like another layer of human connection. Like, oh, Adam Bug, he's a fascinating human being, like, and you get to like sit down at a dinner and talk to him. Like, I feel I feel like, the farm to table movement, whatever, gets a lot of lip service. And yes, it's great to know that if you go to a restaurant, you can eat locally sourced ingredients in your meal. But where do you ever get a chance to like talk to the chef, talk to the farmer? It's like there's like a veil, and Dale McDonald from Plant Seeds has always been talking about lifting the veil.
Right.
We want to have, and yes, you can read like an article about the work that somebody does,
Hmm.
but to actually, and you can support their work by buying their stuff, which is 100% what you should be doing, but to actually have a human connection with that person, that's why CSAs are so powerful, right? Historically, is to know the people in the community who are part of the food system that is part of your life.
There's this piece of you, this educator piece, though,
Mm,
that you bring into the mix
mhm,
that I feel like is very much part of who you are.
mhm,
It's not enough for you to grow it, but you've also, through all your different ventures, have created probably a very deep network
mm.
of people in farming and food and anything adjacent to it. And is that unusual for a farmer chef to be wanting to educate?
I think that's a good question. For me, I'll tell you where it comes from. It comes from being out in the field or being in the kitchen, but I'll start with the field because this is where the first moment came to me. It's like I get to do this. It's like we're hoeing carrots or something. It's so magical to be out in the field, to be in outside in nature, fresh air. Like you can pick up something, you can just graze, like walking through the farm. You can pick a carrot, you can pick some snap peas, you can taste basil. It's like such this amazing sensory experience. And I feel like teaching is a way just to get people to share that experience. Like I know how lucky I am to have that. And farmers are what, 2% of the population, if that.
Mm.
Like,
Whoa.
people just don't have that in their lives. And it's, if I can, if I can share that with somebody and they have like even a fraction of the same kind of response and enjoyment and just joy from that moment. And I've seen that. Like it's, you see a kid pick a carrot out of the ground for the first time. They're like, whoa, like, that has an impact on people. But to go back to the rest of your question, Mary, a lot of farmers are like, I'm growing food. I don't even need to talk to people because this is what I'm doing. Like, you know, not everybody wants to be public facing, you know.
Right.
It's hard. It takes a lot of energy if you're not the kind of person who, like, for example, going to the farmer's market, seeing, I get a lot of energy from that kind of exchange, but it can be exhausting, especially when you've got like crops in the field that you're not with and that need your attention. I mean, you have to do both, right? You have to grow it, you have to sell it, you have to have good customer service, it's part of the deal, but no, not everybody wants to interface with the public. And I think that chefs also, you get some people who are like, it's a kind of the same, like you're in the kitchen, the demand for your attention is so high. It's so high pressure. And maybe the last thing you want to do is go out and greet a customer and be like, hey, how's your dinner? I mean, this really depends on the personality. Some people are like, yeah, get me out of the kitchen. I want to schmooze. I want to be the guy in the dining room, like thanking people, talking to them about their meal, whatever. But um, so yeah, I guess it just depends on the personality.
Yeah, because I've always felt like from Plantin Seeds, you were education and outreach.
Hmm.
And then at Husky Meadows, what I loved about that CSA was your creativity, your visual creativity,
Mm-hmm.
and your writing. You'd with each week's harvest, you'd get a newsletter from you talking about some aspect of that, and
Hmm.
then recipes for how to use a Jerusalem artichoke, which,
Right.
hello, that was not in my vocabulary. But I also noticed this incredible visual style that you
Hmm.
have, from the way you set your table to the way, even though your kitchen is a full-on cook's kitchen and is not chaotic, but it's a working kitchen.
Hmm.
There's still this sense of style that runs through, and you create this visual appeal as well. And I don't know if that's intentional, like fully intentional, or it's just part of who you are. And can you talk about that?
Well, I guess it's probably just part of who I am, but the real thing, like I think the common denominator again through gardening and food is it's so many opportunities for beauty, right?
Hmm.
Like
Hmm.
just, an eggplant growing on the bush is beautiful. And,
Mm,
to carry that through to the dish that you're making and how you plate it and the setting, like the farm is gorgeous because you're out in the middle of nature. And then like the setting of the dish on the plate on the table, like I actually don't think this is the me just talking now. I don't consciously think that, but that's my experience of, I think if you have that's somewhere in the back of my mind that beauty is the through line of the whole experience, right?
But it seems like you're touching all the senses because you not
Yes.
only are you literally
Oh,
touching grass, but
right.
you're immersed in nature. And so it's mind, body, soul,
Mhm.
smell, taste, touch. I think
Yeah.
so, at least what I'm gathering. And so I feel like maybe Mary, to Mary's point, that plays a huge factor, whether it's subconscious or conscious.
Right. Yeah. I've been really lucky to have some events with Sandrine Harris, which
Hmm.
she says she's so amazing. And while I can have an appreciation for these things that we're talking about, she's such an amazing facilitator to help people be able to come to those awarenesses when it's because so many of these things, even if you're eating a meal and it tastes great, like, do you really, like, on an everyday basis, slow down and taste your food?
No.
And
nope.
Sandrine has been like, she's just so amazing with the work that she does to help people along, just remembering to notice things. Um, so
And
yeah,
enjoy it
yes, yeah,
and be intentional
hmm,
about. I think that's one of the things, back to your carrot, said son Caleb planted those
yeah,
for the first time from seed, and
yeah,
we got some.
Yeah.
Like it worked.
It does work. It does work. Yeah.
And it was incredible. Like I do a little plot
Mhm.
and in the community garden at Salisbury
Right.
Family Services. And the reward factor of pulling up my garlic and knowing that I made my own pesto and
Mhm.
that I'm then serving that to my family and my friends. It's like a micro moment of what you do on a daily basis.
Right.
But I feel like attending your sessions and knowing you, that's what I carry back is that
Mhm.
this is care.
Yeah. And the thing about the teaching is that, and why I want to share it is because I know that you can go do that. Like you don't need
Mm,
me to have these experiences. But maybe it's the thing that gets you going. Like
Yeah.
you can grow your own carrots, you can grow your own garlic. And if you need help, that's why I'm here. Like I want to give you
You're like Nanny
skills.
McPhee.
Yeah, right. Some skills and confidence, like, yes, you can make a pie. It's not rocket science. I don't do anything that's like super complicated. I don't think, but people who don't have my experience think it's like some mysterious thing, and it's not really. Like, I think it's much easier, I think, for people to learn things when they can see it, put their hands on it, ask questions about it in the moment. For me, anyway, like you can read something, but until you like really put your hands on it, like it's just totally different. And then you can go away with that, like again, going back to like using all your senses and the somatic feel of what is the soil supposed to feel like, or what is
hmm
the pie crust supposed to feel like, or the sourdough bread, so I think that that's really rewarding to hear people go and they say, "Oh, I went home and I made the recipe and it was great," and that's very satisfying to me.
This episode is proudly sponsored by Main Street Magazine. Main Street Magazine is a monthly magazine and a website with daily content, and we love to feature people, places, and things that make our community special. To learn more, please visit our website, www.mainstreetmag.com. For the teaching portion, is it just the fact that people don't have the idea to do that, or they have the lack of experience that they are like, oh, I could never do that? And then you show them in such, hey, this is simple. And
Yeah,
is that kind of the driving force to push them like to actually have the courage or moxie to then
right.
to go forward and be like, hey, I did this and now I can do that?
I think it's a little bit of both. I think the people come to me when they want to learn something, and then they get the experience and the confidence to do that. But then they also learn something that they didn't expect usually. Like I try to, especially with like eating seasonally, so we just had our first master class, which was really fun. It was a whole weekend, and it was a very broad-based, like technique oriented over the course of the weekend. Like, here's some basic kind of 101 cooking skills using seasonal ingredients. So by the end of it, they were introduced to quince and making quince paste because it's how you preserve something from the season, right? Which
Okay.
is not, I don't think anybody really was like, I'm gonna go in order to learn how to make quince paste, right? But they learned how to, we roasted a chicken and we made sourdough bread. And so I think it's important to kind of surpass people's expectations.
Okay.
But there's always there's always little nuggets that people go home with that I think that they didn't expect.
I can vouch for that. Just
Yeah.
the little things, the
Yeah.
baby steps. And this seasonal thing, can you go
Mhm.
back to why that? I mean, it seems logical, but can you just elaborate on why that is so much part of what you do?
Well, sure. So if you're growing your own food, you know, you get to experience it firsthand, like, oh, we have turnips in the garden. We don't have. So this is actually a pretty big teaching component in what I do is to be able to go to a farmer's market or to get a CSA share and feel like you know what to do with the stuff.
Hmm.
Like people aren't used to cooking a lot of the things that are so easily grown here and available to us, like Hakurei turnips or kohlrabi or these things that are really delicious, nutritious, easy to find here, easy to grow. And instead of this kind of, I don't know what you'd say, like consumer driven social media thing, it's like this glossy recipe, and then you have to go out and you have to shop for all the ingredients.
Right, right.
Um, that has its place. I mean, definitely, like I go to social media for inspiration and stuff like that, but to not feel like it's kind of like kind of top down cooking, kind of like I want to make this, so I have to go shop. It's more like today's Monday morning, right? So it's like fridge excavation time for me. What's in the fridge? What needs to be used? What am I going to eat this week?
Right.
And then what do I need to fill in the gaps? So the same thing is like, oh, you get your CSA share. What am I going to eat this week? What am I going to create? And I think that our culture is so to my thinking backwards that that's a lost skill.
Mm.
Like if your starting point is the grocery store, then you can have whatever you want 365 days of the year. It's not
Right.
going to taste great, probably because it's traveled from wherever, it's out of season, it's been packaged in a box, it's not fresh. So when you come back to eating seasonally, it's gonna, first of all, gonna taste the best out of anything,
Hmm.
right? And it's also nice for me to not be eating zucchini right now. Like it's special when asparagus comes in, it's special and you eat it and then you
Right.
say goodbye to it. And that's okay. Like that's the other thing I feel like is our culture has really gone away from like having everything all the time. Not It's not special anymore, right? Like
Yeah.
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 those
Totally.
first sun warm, juicy strawberries.
Yep.
Like that has an integrity to it that we just ignore and dismiss and don't get to really celebrate. I mean, like it should it should be joyful and we should celebrate that we have these things here, that we can grow strawberries. Like, how amazing is that? Or pawpaws. Oh my gosh. And then you go to like a whole different conversation about native plants and pawpaws, and you eat a pawpaw and you're like, what planet did this come from? And it came with like this creamy, almost tropical flavored thing. And it just belongs here in this northeast climate. It's like mind blowing. So yeah, that's my little localism rant.
Yeah, but you've also, when all through the meal
Mhm.
that we attended, you had locally sourced brown liquor of some sort. Was it bourbon or whiskey that was by the fire?
Probably. Yeah.
Locally sourced bread, yours,
Yeah.
the CSA vegetables, but all through, not that you were name dropping, but you were saying, this is from this farm, this is from this farm. And so you're not cooking in a vacuum. You're not doing these
Right.
tasks in a vacuum. You are referring outward to the resources in this community and helping other farmers and producers get known.
Yeah, absolutely. I always say that like you can't farm like in a vacuum. Like
Hmm.
there's this, I saw this really great thing about somebody who was talking about, this kind of notion to be a homesteader and be self-sufficient or something, and how like it's kind of a, not to disrespect anyone who's trying to do that, but it's kind of ridiculous because you have to do so many different things on your own. And And it's so hard to do any one of those things good, like raise your own meat or raise your own dairy or raise your own vegetables or raise your own fruit. Like it takes a whole community to create a local food system. And
Yeah.
so you should go out to Tommy at Coltswood Valley Farm, like in Cornwall, and get your raw milk. And you should go to whoever your neighbor is and see what they have. Like my neighbor has great eggs, which is wonderful. And because if you don't, the other thing is if you don't support them, then you are going to have to be stuck shopping at the grocery store and eating lower quality food. And that's just not as fun. You know what I mean? Like those are people who are interesting and who are dedicating their lives to like this. Much of farming is really artisanal production, like at the level that I'm engaged with the people in this community, right? Like they're interesting. They have interesting stories about the work that they do. And it's just, I find it fascinating, obviously, because it's the realm that I live in.
It almost feels like a throwback, though. And I feel like, this is how society used to be, and this is how small communities used to be. And I feel like through the evolution of technology and today's society, maybe we've lost that. We've lost the connection, as you guys were just talking about, pulling a carrot out of the ground.
Right.
How many people in today's society can say they did that?
Exactly.
And so I think, I think at least what I'm gathering is the broader scope of this is just, this is natural to humans. And we've lost some of that. So you're bringing it back, not just with farming, but you're bringing it back with your senses and taste and, pulling this out of the ground and then making it and sharing it like it used to be.
Right.
So that's just my take on, I don't know. Mary's been there to experience it. Was that what you and Caleb felt?
Yeah, I mean,
Because you made the reference, not to cut you off, but you made the reference like he didn't want to engage on his phone. So I think like that highlights.
yes, well, Caleb.
Yeah.
He likes to talk. Caleb's worked at Main Street.
Yeah.
But he is very interested in all of this. And
Yeah.
I think having Adam there, and also seeing this father and son, this other two guests that were there, it was really a nice thing. We had a father and a son and a mother and a son, and you and the farmer and the farmer's wife. And it was just a really, like, I felt like I was having a meal, but and this really appeals to me, that I was learning something. And I love when I can combine a fun experience. I mean, that's my definition of fun, is
Right.
being with other people and learning something new.
Right.
And even Adam's talking about hunting and how important that is in his life for the welfare of his family, and the misinterpretations around hunting that he experiences, and just getting back to his passion for soil. That was like really cool to get the dirt on soil right from the farmer's mouth. And then also to just be in this really beautiful setting with the table laid so beautifully, and the through line of the blueberries. And it was just a very special occasion. And you could go out and drop the cost of a workshop twice over at a restaurant.
Yeah, for sure.
And come away and say, what did I really gain from that? So that I just thought that was, it's Thorin, it's really a very special setting, and the learning. Although we did try the zucchini and ricotta on the fire roasted bread.
Yeah.
Oh.
I will say putting the bread in the toaster doesn't quite but it was a facsimile. It was not bad.
It's in there. It's in there.
But yeah, I want to go back to when you started out, your definition of Moxie, and use the word authenticity. What does that conjure up for you, an authentic life?
I think that when things have this experience that whenever and also thinking outside the box, that kind of thing, whenever I start to make decisions that are more, especially as an entrepreneur, like it's hard to because I don't have a lot of like the traditional business skills or whatever. And whenever I try to go down a path that I think like makes more sense,
Right.
or I should do this, it never results in the effect that I'm looking for. But when I stay true to what's in my heart, I mean, woo woo or not, like that's when it works out. I just I
Mm-hmm.
can't explain it. And there's I think there's this notion that like it's okay to not know how things work.
Right.
I mean, this is a little bit of a tangent, but you just can't have things mapped out all the time, and you can't know the answers all the time. And you have to like sit with being like grounded enough in what your intuition tells you about what's right for you in order to go forward. And I think that's what I was mentioning about resilience. You just have to like trust that, because when you go outside of that, if you get into if you go outside of that authenticity and you try to be something you're not, like that's not going to result in anything. So I guess it's not necessarily easy when you are outside of kind of the norm or the conventional wisdom or whatever, but there's a lot of other people who aren't either. And you find them, like, or you speak to that little spark in somebody who you think you don't have a commonality with, but there's so many opportunities to find, commonality, especially around food. I mean, come on.
Mm.
We all eat every day and we all want to eat something tasty. So, yeah.
Yes. How do you plan your menus? Is it that same bottom up? It's definitely seasonal, but how do you
Yeah.
pick what specifically will be on a menu that
Uh,
hangs together?
yeah. Well, let's see. It definitely starts with what is here, what is around, what I have access to. And then there comes in to like what I really want to showcase and highlight that's of the moment.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe I want to do that I like planning menus that start and end with the same ingredient
Oh,
in a
interesting.
different way, because it's like it's kind of like a surprise, like whether it's like we had the blueberry shrub in the cocktail.
Yes.
Like, and
Yes.
that's not something, I mean, yeah, you can have a sweet cocktail, so that's not like the most mind-blowing, but and then to bring it back, well, that's the other thing. So sometimes it's just like maybe a little hint here and then bring it back at the end of the meal. But like with the blueberry, I do like to have these events that bring something through different contexts, because to show how diverse they are. So we did the
Mm.
blueberry barbecue sauce, and then I forgot what we had for dessert, but I'm sure it had
It
blueberry.
was a blueberry galette type
Was
thing.
it cornmeal blueberry galette, maybe?
It was super simple,
Yeah.
very rustic,
Yeah.
with homemade ice cream. I'm still
Oh,
dreaming about it.
Yeah.
ooh.
So that's part of it. And then also logistically, what can be achieved. Like I realized there was a recipe I wanted to share during our master class. It was for a potato and Swiss chard gratin, but the oven temperature was too low for everything else I was cooking. So I was like, all right, I have to scrap that. Unfortunately, it's a great dish. I want to share it. I gave people the recipe, but we didn't include it in the meal because it does have to make sense,
Mm-hmm,
like
mm-hmm,
for the
Yeah,
person who's cooking. And that's also part of like those little things that ha are important about when I'm teaching. So much of it is not just, the inspiration from the land, whatever, but actually accomplishing it. And you do have to be organized and you have to
mm-hmm.
have a methodology. And that helps so much. Just for example, like using the right size cutting board instead of like a little tiny cutting board. Like it makes your life a lot easier. So that's kind of a tangent, but all those things go into creating a menu,
right.
right? Like how do you get it accomplished?
The practicality of orchestrating the meal from start to
Right.
finish.
Right. Yep.
Okay. Thorin, do you want to hit her with the last question?
If you had a bit of advice for anyone listening, how could, from your point of view, how could they kind of cultivate their own Moxie, whether it's with farming, cooking, baking, or just anything other in life that they could take from your experiences?
Well, I think that to try to the Mo Moxie is also like gumption, right? Like getting
Yeah,
like the gumption to do what you really is important to you. It's really meaningful to you, right?
yeah.
And I think that right now there's so much noise from especially social media
100%.
to just turn it off, go get it out of your system, or just stop listening, whatever you have to do to have some kind of quiet
Hmm.
in each day or whatever you need to do to hear your own thoughts
Right.
and to know what's really resonant in yourself, listening to your intuition, your own voice. And that's kind of like the groundwork, right? And then even if you don't know what's next, like to not be afraid of um talking to people about whatever
Right.
your idea is, like making the connections. Like I have a, like when Mary was saying, like there's a whole network of people now that I can go to if I have a question about this or a question about that, or how did you do this? Like it's vulnerable because you have to admit that you don't know stuff, but come on, like that's
That's
life.
okay.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like we have to kind of accept that more and more, I think, that it's okay to not know and that
Yeah.
people in your community want to support you and that you should ask for help. And because the other thing is, and then also not be kind of be open to like not knowing or the attachment of an outcome because I feel like to go back to, plant seeds, things that conversations that you have today may not bring any like fruition or something like actionable or whatever like in the next month, the next
Hmm.
year. But
Hmm.
if you made that connection, who knows, 5 years later, it may be right where you needed it to be. Like, and that person is
Yes.
going to walk through your door and you're going to have the conversation again and be like, oh, yeah, oh, now's the time.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
I see that in my life. And so it doesn't matter that, not, like you can have lots of ideas. That's a little bit of a problem for me, maybe. Actually, I have a lot of ideas. Because I am interested in a lot of different things. But there's a time and a place, and you kind of maybe just have to be okay with not knowing, okay with being open to what happens, and then going back and keep asking yourself, is this what really I
Hmm.
want? Like for example, people say to me sometimes, "Oh, you should do more dinners, or you should," and yes, I could do that. Like I mean, like private chefing or like doing
Right. Right. Right.
dinner parties for people or something like that. But I want to do those if they can be the experience that like what Mary had.
Right.
But I don't want to just go down this path because I can, because I want to that doesn't allow me to hit all those touchstones that I want to.
Right.
Like about it's really about the educational piece is also about just the connection piece. Like you learn something because you connected to a human.
Hmm. Hmm.
It's not like um I don't have this again, like this top down thing either of the glossy recipe that I want to make or that I have to change the world and this is how you are going to do it because I'm going to tell you. Like, there's a lot of like rhetoric out there, like you
Right.
have to do things this way.
Right.
Like, that's not how I teach. That's not how I cook. Like, that's not like cooking is fraught with that, right? People, instructors and chefs, especially in the restaurant system, like saying you have to do it this way and come on, like it doesn't have to be that way. So
Well, it seems like it should be, and no pun intended, but organic. And
yeah,
and
yeah,
there's no
and
right or wrong way, really.
right. And
The outcome might just be different.
right, and I think it's just trusting trusting in the process
Yeah.
and letting time work its magic. And if you're, if you're true to yourself, that you just have to have faith, I think. Yeah.
Amen.
Like that.
Yeah.
Yep.
Thank you so much for sharing your story with
Thank you.
us. And all of your information is going to be in our show notes if people want to
Great.
contact you and find out more about your work. So thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So, Thorin, I know you've known Tracy through different articles
I
that Main
have.
Street has published, but what'd you think about meeting her in person?
First of all, I'm hungry. I would love
Yeah.
to go to one of her dinners with the farmers and everything, and especially after you raved about it for so long. She seems so just salt of the earth. No pun intended. I think the puns are plentiful here. But I think that's really her essence and what I got from it. And that, she is not afraid to do things her way and what feels natural to her and her authenticity in it. And I think that's really the core of her, Moxie, and just the strength in that she's not afraid to reinvent herself. She does what feels authentic to her and she wants to share that. And not only that, but the community she draws into it, kind of like we've talked about in the past with many other guests, is that we're not an island. And I liked how she kind of pulled that in with the farmer aspect and her point of, which is really poignant, that only 2% are farmers and they do a lot. But for someone to do all the things and be self-sufficient, it's just not realistic because it's hard enough to do one thing well, let alone 50 or 100 things. But I thought that was a really interesting point about that as well, and just how it's not easy, but it's so fulfilling in a way, and to share that and to literally break bread.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's just so much. I'm trying to pull out these various things that just struck out at me, and they're jumping out as I'm trying to gather it
Right.
together. But what about for you?
I really resonated with that paths that might look good on paper
Yeah,
or
yeah,
that she feels like she should do,
yeah.
but something in her, and I think her intuition meter is very high because
Mm-hmm.
of the work that she does,
Mm-hmm.
because of what it means to be a farmer, and everything has a season and you can't rush and you have to wait for things to blossom or bear
Yeah.
fruit. And I also really respect that even though she's a farmer, she doesn't dwell in silos. That
Mm-hmm.
there's another pun, that she is able to bring together educator, chef,
Yeah,
farmer,
totally.
networker, community builder. And I think when you attend one of her events,
Mm-hmm.
that authentic love of what she does and the
Right.
relationships that she's building and what she's sharing comes through like on a loudspeaker. It's really compelling. So I thought it was a great episode, and I'm so happy we got to share her story.
Me too. And thank you for bringing her to us. And hopefully, our listeners will be very intrigued and check out the show notes and learn more and take inspiration and maybe want to grow a carrot or two.
Exactly. All right. Well, let's go both have some lunch.
Let's do it. Until next time. This episode is proudly sponsored by Main Street Magazine.